Maritime security, freedom of navigation, and safety and security of sea lanes is equally important. The challenges of climate change have shown that even offshore human behavior can change the ecology, glaciers, and oceans. This is already causing a lot of concern for island countries and coastal communities in particular. I hope this summit will deliberate on these issues while discussing economic issues related with oceans. The elimination of sea piracy, which was a big threat to international shipping a few years ago, is a good example of how joint efforts by maritime nations can achieve outstanding results. Friends, there is a reason why this important summit has been organized today on the 14th of April 2016. Today is the 125th birth anniversary of a great son of India who also lived and worked in Mumbai. I am referring to Dr. Bhimrao Babasaheb Ambedkar, who was the architect of our Constitution. He is also the architect of the water and river navigation policy in India. I offer my profound respect to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar on this auspicious day. I also wish and pray that his wisdom continues to guide us in our efforts toward nation building. Many of us may not know that Babasaheb created two powerful institutions related to water navigation and power. They were the Central Waterways Irrigation and Navigation Commission and the Central Technical Power Board. His observations while setting up these two organizations is a testimony to this great foresight. I quote from his address on 3rd January 1945. The objects which have led to the setting up of two organizations are to advise on how the water resources can be best utilized and how a project can be made to serve purpose other than irrigation. Dr. Ambedkar had emphasized the importance of the new waterways policy in order to lay the foundation for a regime of prosperity for the millions of poor of our country. I am happy to state that we have embarked on the development of our national waterways is keeping with Babasaheb's vision and foresight. With a GDP growth rate of more than 7%, India is the fastest growing major economy today. The IMF and the World Bank have indicated even better prospects in the days to come. We are taking aggressive steps to ensure that our processes of growth is both fast as well as inclusive. This summit is another step to realize Babasaheb's dream of an economically strong, socially empowered, and technologically equipped India. I understand that more than 4,500 dignitaries and delegates from around 40 countries are participating in this summit. I'm particularly happy that the Republic of Korea is the partner country for this event. I thank the President of Korea and also the Senior Minister, Mr. Kim Yong-sok, who is present here. Friends, we Indians are inheritors of a glorious maritime heritage. The world's first dock was built at Lothal in Gujarat around 2500 BC during the Harappan civilization. This dock was equipped to berth and service ships. It was built after studying tidal flows. In addition to Lothal, there were also some other Indian ports which were major drivers of global maritime trade 2000 years ago. This included Barigaja, which is today is known as Bharuch in Gujarat, Mujiris, which is today is known as Kondangalur near Cochin in Kerala, Korkai, which is today's Tuticorin, Kaveri Pattanam, which is the Nagapattinam district, Tamil Nadu, and Arikamedu, which is Ariyankudappam district of Puducherry. There are many references in ancient Indian literature and in Greek and Roman works about the vibrant maritime trade of India with Rome, Greece, Egypt, and Arabia. Ancient and medieval Indian traders maintained links with countries in Southeast and East Asia, Africa, Arabia, and Europe. Friends, since my government took over, among other things, we have laid emphasis on building futuristic infrastructure. This includes building next generation infrastructure in many sectors: port, shipping, and maritime infrastructures is prominent among them. It is my government's endeavor to revive and restore India's position of eminence in the global maritime sector. Building upon our glorious maritime tradition, we are working hard to achieve new heights in this area. In the very early days of government, we announced the Sagar Mala project. This is aimed at leveraging our long coastline and natural maritime advantage. It also focuses on promoting port-led development, energizing the coastal economy and infrastructure development in these areas. We particularly want to modernize our ports and integrate them with special economic zones, port-based smart cities, industrial parks, warehouses, logistic parks, cold storages, and transport corridors. I must mention that our vast coastline of 7,500 kilometers offers a huge investment opportunity. Apart from the length of the coastline, India's maritime potential also lies in its strategic location on all major shipping highways. In addition, we have an expansive and productive hinterland through which flows a network of mighty rivers. Our maritime agenda will complement this ambitious infrastructure plan for the hinterland, which is going on in parallel. I call upon the global business community to partner with us to give shape to a process of port-led development. I'm sure the long coastline of India, along with diverse coastal region and hard-working coastal communities, can become an engine of growth of India. To enable the growth of the port and related sectors, we have carried out several reforms and taken a number of new initiatives. Under our Make in India approach, we have taken many steps to make India a global manufacturing hub. Recently, Moody's has appreciated the Make in India initiative. We have done a lot of corrections on the front of ease of doing business. We have jumped up 12 ranks in World Bank's ranking. A lot of simplification has happened in the processes for cross-border trade. We have greatly liberalized the licensing regimes. This also includes the defense sector and shipbuilding therein. We have taken almost 60% of the defense items out of the licensing processes. Most of the FDI sectors are now put on automatic approval route. Shipyards are being given infrastructure status at par with the ports. Rebate of service tax on coastal shipping has been increased to 70%. We have granted customs duty and central excise exemption on inputs used in shipbuilding. To promote shipbuilding has been approved. Customs and central excise duties have been exempted on bunker fuel for Indian flag container ships. Tax issues of seafarers have been resolved. A new company by the name of Indian Port Rail Corporation has been established to focus on the last. We have enacted a legislation for declaring 111 waterways as National Waterways 1. We have taken up skill development activities aggressively. The results of our initial efforts are clearly visible. FDI inflows have gone up by 44% since this government took over. In fact, the year 2015-16 has seen the highest ever FDI inflow into India. India's highest ever quantity of cargo handled by major ports was in 2015. The port efficiency parameters have shown very good improvement. India's fastest average turnaround time in ports was in 2015. In the last 2 years, our major ports have added 165 million ton capacity with record addition in each year. 94 million ton capacity was added by these ports in 2015-16 alone, which is the highest ever. The traffic in major ports has shown a healthy growth of more than 4% in the last 2 years, despite global slowdown. The performance of the major ports in the last 2 years has been remarkable. Operating profit margins, which are declining, have increased. In 2015-16 alone, the operating profit of the 12 major ports has increased by nearly 6.7 billion rupees. During 2015-16, Kandla Port in Gujarat breached the 100 million traffic landmark and displayed 20% improvement in efficiency. Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust registered a net profit of 10 billion rupees, helped by a 12% increase in efficiency. Our flagship companies like Shipping Corporation, Dredging Corporation, and the Cochin Shipyard have registered higher profits as compared to the previous years. However, this is just the beginning. We want to do more. We are enhancing our own capacities of execution and implementation. The National Perspective Plan of the Sagarmala program has been released today. During the last 2 years, major ports have awarded 56 new projects involving an investment of more than 250 billion rupees. This will create an additional port capacity of 317 million tons per annum. Our vision is to increase port capacity from 1,400 million tons to 3,000 million tons by 2025. We want to mobilize an investment of 1 lakh crore or 1 trillion rupees in the port sector to enable this growth. 5 new ports are planned to meet the increasing demand of the EXIM trade, which will rise in proportion with the fast-growing Indian economy. New ports are also being developed by several coastal states of India. The multiple measures to promote coastal shipping, coupled with the anticipated rise in domestic production of coal, is expected to enhance coastal transportation of coal by at least 4-fold by 2025. We are engaging with our immediate and regional neighbors to promote shipping and maritime security. Recently, India has signed a coastal shipping agreement with Bangladesh, which will be mutually beneficial. India is also engaged in the development of Chabahar port of Iran. A special purpose vehicle by the name India Ports Global Limited has been established to take up maritime projects overseas. I'm informed that the Minister of Shipping is showcasing about 250 projects with investment opportunity in the maritime sector. These projects include various infrastructure development opportunities in 12 major ports, projects in 8 maritime states and other agencies. Of this, over 100 projects have been identified under the Sagarmala project. With more than 14,000 kilometers of navigable inland waterways in the country, there is a tremendous potential for development in this sector. My government is committed to integration in infrastructure. We are also committed to creating an enabling environment for investors and facilitate investments with an open mind. Friends, all this is being done to benefit the common man. This is being done to provide employment to our youth. This is particularly being done to empower coastal communities, particularly fishermen. Approximately 18% of India's population lives in 72 coastal districts. It comprises 12% of India's landmass. Therefore, there is a need for holistic and sustainable development of coastal regions and communities, particularly for the fishermen. Development of coastal communities, especially fishermen, requires an integrated approach. As part of the Sagarmala program, we will adopt a comprehensive approach with focus on capacity building and training, upgrading of technology, and for improving physical and social infrastructure. This will be done in collaboration with the coastal states. These initiatives will create employment opportunities of approximately 10 million jobs over the next 10 years. This includes 4 million direct and 6 million indirect jobs. To broaden livelihood opportunities further, we are planning to deploy modern and sophisticated fishing vessels. This would enable them to harness resources in India's exclusive economic zone. In addition, we are also focusing on value addition in fisheries, aquaculture, and cold chain development. The port sector in India is a good mix of private and public port, with both contributing to the growth of the sector. The PPP model of development has been quite successful in this sector and has helped in bringing latest technology and best practices. Private ports have been growing at a very healthy pace and have nearly doubled their capacity in the last 5 years. They handle around 45% of the total cargo. Most of these ports are new with modern facilities and can match the best international ports in terms of performance and infrastructure. Friends, India has had a glorious maritime history. We are on the path of shaping an even better maritime future. The maritime sector not only creates and facilitates economic activities, it also connects countries and civilizations. Moreover, it is the cleanest and cheapest carrier of global trade. Investing in maritime sector is not only investing in one's own future, but in the future of the planet and that of coming generations. However, in this sector, no country can achieve the desired results in isolation. Nations have to collaborate to realize this potential and to overcome challenges in this sector. The objective of this summit is to provide a platform and a forum for such cooperation. To conclude, I would like to say that this is the right time to come to India. It is even better time to come through the sea route. The Indian ship is well equipped for a long haul. Do not miss it. Missing it means missing a pleasant journey and a great destination. Once you are here, I assure you that I will personally hold your hands to see that your berthing is safe, secure, and satisfactory. At last, I again pay homage to Baba Sahib Ambedkar on 125th birth anniversary. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.